কৌশিক যদি আমাদেরকে বলে দেখাতে, কাউকে যদি দেখাতে বলে, তাহলে কে দেখাবে ওর স্লাইড গুলো?
এই নিউ শেয়ারে যাবেন।
না, কে কে দেখাচ্ছে ওটা? Oh, not coming. আচ্ছা, কৌশিক ইজ হিয়ার। রিক, রিক তুমি ওর এটা এনেবল করো, পিপিটি প্রেজেন্টেশনটা। রিক,
করে দিচ্ছি, আমি ওনাকে co-host বানিয়ে দিচ্ছি, উনি ওনার স্ক্রিন শেয়ার করতে পারবেন।
এখন পারছে না তো।
হ্যাঁ স্যার, আমি বানাই আগে তারপর।
হ্যাঁ, করে দাও তাড়াতাড়ি।
Yeah. So it is fine, no? So let me just hold on. So right, so yeah. So let me. Okay. I'll be back. Okay, for 2 minutes. For 2 minutes.
হ্যাঁ রিক, তুমি এখন ওই আগেরটা আবার চালু করতে পারো। ও আসবে
আচ্ছা,
7টায়, তারপরে আবার ও টেক ওভার করবে।
ঠিক আছে।
হ্যালো রিক, পিপিটি স্লাইডটা দাঁড়িয়ে আছে, একটু স্লাইড শোটা করাও আর ভিডিওটা চালাও আমাদের।
স্যার করছি।
হ্যালো, হ্যাঁ করো।
Vinay? Vinay?
Kaushik, yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
No, no. They are actually displaying the program. It will be just a few minutes. As it starts, again you can share and we can see your screen.
Okay.
Mhm. The program has not yet started.
Okay.
The Association of Energy Engineer was founded in 1977 by Albert Thurman with a mission to promote the scientific and educational interest of those engaged in the energy sector. The AEE USA India chapter began in 2003, and since its inception, it has won several accolades, including the Best Chapter Performance Award. They say opportunity is the best captain of all endeavor. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Energy Department of ISWBM is overwhelmed to host the AEE lecture series on the topic Career Prospects in Energy Management. The department wholeheartedly welcomes our speaker, Mr. Kaushik Bhattacharjee, President of Ray Power, Inc., Secretary of AEE Officer Board. He holds a master's in energy management from New York Institute of Technology, USA. He has contributed in various fields like energy audit, guided implementation, including M&V in commercial building, data center, and maximize saving. He has also worked with Canadian utilities in conservation and demand side management. Now I would like Mr. Kaushik Bhattacharya to kindly enlighten us regarding the opportunities in energy management.
Kaushik. Kaushik, hello. Yeah, you can start now, Kaushik.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, can you see this?
No,
Yes,
not
sir.
yet. Yeah.
So, good morning. Sorry,
Please.
good evening, students, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kaushik Bhattacharjee, and I'm speaking from Whitby, Canada. It's about 50 kilometers east of Toronto. And I'll be very happy to share talk about the career prospects in energy management, primarily in the North America, but I would also try to give some reference in India, because since I live here and work, most of my work is primarily North America, so this will be more a North American perspective, but some of these things are also, I'm sure, happening in India. But this would be very important for all the aspiring energy management students to kind of develop a career direction in terms of developing the skill sets in this area. So the first question comes, what is the key energy management drivers? Essentially, there are really 4 key energy management drivers right now. It's the biggest driver is climate change. well, and that is driving, in fact, altering the way we practice energy management in a big way. Related to that, there is something called environmental ESG, environmental, social, and corporate governance. And I will talk about this in the next couple of slides. Obviously, cost reduction has always been one of the key motivators to implement energy management program. And other things like implementing best practices, like, sorry, it's not IS, but ISO 50001. So, come topic of climate change, we know that in order to reduce the harmful effects of climate change, the world has to achieve net zero by around 2050. 110 countries have all pledged to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. I guess India has also signed that it will achieve net zero by 2070, if I'm not wrong. You know, correct me if I'm wrong. So this is one of the key milestones in the area of net zero. This slides have been taken from International Energy Agency, and you can see various milestones which they think, like, for example, in 2040, they are saying 50% of the existing buildings in the world would be retrofitted to zero carbon ready levels, and by 2050, more than 85% of the buildings are net zero ready. So basically, all this requires a lot of skill sets, a lot of capacity building, and there would be a lot of jobs in this area. I'm thinking that there couldn't be a better time for people working in clean tech. Right now, we are already seeing a lot of opportunities here in Canada. There's a lot of investment in this area. Government programs, utility programs are driving this market, and we see similar things also in the US. And I'm sure in India, there would be also a lot of opportunities to achieve these net zero goals. This kind of briefly outlines, kind of presents the emission greenhouse gas emissions at different economic sectors, and we see that one of the major contributors is electricity heat production and building. So it's roughly little more than 30%. So we are, and obviously with industry, that makes it about a little more than 50%. So that's the area that that would be the major focus to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And definitely there would be opportunities in these three areas. As I said in the beginning, I would touch upon this point of ESG, environmental, social governance. Really, what this really means, I mean, investors are looking at businesses and they want to invest in business that is engaged in sustainable and ethical business practices. Basically, what this really means that every business would have to provide some kind of a ESG score. And I'm not aware about companies in India, how ESG is, I mean, how companies are implementing ESG in India, but definitely in this part of the country, this is taken very seriously. And this is generating a lot of activities in this area. And companies are trying to get a very good score, very good ESG score. Coming back to the energy management best practices, perhaps this is not this is one of the most familiar slides for a student in energy management. So basically, if we implement best practices in energy management, we move from what they call an energy roller coaster. So you can actually see energy coming down and again it goes up. Whereas in case of implementation of energy management best practices, there is a consistent reduction in energy. So basically, companies adopt best practices so that there is a sustainable reduction in energy consumption. One, and number two, they get much more value in terms of the energy management program. And basically, this is kind of a energy management continuum where you can see these are kind of rungs of a level where companies move from a level 0 to level 5. In the case of level 0, companies basically are not doing anything, whereas at level 5, they have implemented all the best practices and achieved what they call a superior performance. So, the key question here is what are the kinds of skill sets that we are looking at? The first thing is the energy management best practices, and I'm sure your program in IIS WPM is already getting you exposed to all the principles, the procedure of energy management. And also with people like Binoy, who've been in this industry for a long time and exposed to some of the drivers in this industry, are giving all the students like a real life flavor of all the issues related in this area. Then the other thing is there's a huge demand of energy modelers. We are seeing that here. And I'm thinking there would be even more in the coming years, primarily because of achieving net zero. I mean, there has to be something beyond just simple energy audits. So this is something I'll be kind of covering a little bit detailed in this presentation. Then we have measurement and verification. There is an international measurement and verification protocol called IPMVP. If you do a Google search, you would be able to download the document. Then we have a traditional air carbon and energy audits. In this area, there are architects and green building designers, and I'm sure the guys, all you guys have been exposed to LEED programs, LEED certification. Then there is a lot of interest in what they call retrocommissioning or recommissioning. Then lastly, it is about building automation. Here people use a lot of automation controls, primarily HVAC, lighting, and the building security system. And with the development in data science, a lot of information is connected to the cloud, and we are seeing application of cloud computing in this area. So, in terms of energy management best practices, what are the skill sets your employers would like to see? First thing, ability to analyze energy and cost data, perform regression analysis. This would mean both single variable and multivariate, more very complex regression analysis. Things like USUM analysis, develop benchmark. One of the tools which is extremely popular in this part of the country is EPA's Energy Portfolio Manager, and I would kind of give you a screenshot of the Portfolio Manager. These are a free tool that everyone can access. And I would encourage people in this, I mean, the participants out here to go and create an account in the Portfolio Manager website. Then there is obviously the ability to identify energy and cost reduction measures, perform complex energy saving calculation. Here I am mentioning both in buildings as well as in industry. In HVAC industry, we perform what is called bin analysis, and I'm not sure if you guys have talked about bin analysis, but this is something that you guys need to be aware of. But definitely performing energy and cost reduction calculations are extremely important. Obviously, using equipments, energy meters, and sensors. And now, anyway, the cost of metering and the sensor technology is coming down, and there are all kinds of sensors at the IoT sensors everywhere in the market. So, I mean, each day there's always one or new technology in this area. This is an example of regression analysis. This shot has been taken, the first screenshot has been taken from a tool called Matrix. This is one of the very popular tools used in our industry. So it's a software package. In fact, one of my friends, John Avena, he owns the company. He is from the West Coast in the US. And similarly, this is the second the screenshot in this portion, the download portion, is from the Screen Expert, and I'm sure you guys are exposed to the Screen Expert. Again, this is some analysis from using the Screen Expert. I would not go into details of this, but kind of briefly, I'm telling you these are the kinds of skills that an employer would like to see that when you perform, when you first develop a regression model and perform do some analysis, and not only that, interpret the results of the analysis. Again, another results of system analysis on a very large commercial shopping mall. Again, this is an example of heat map. This is done using a tool called Energy Charting and Metrics. Again, these are free downloadable Excel tools. You can just download these tools. And if you want, I can actually share some of these things and send it to energy modeling. This is extremely important for people. There is already a huge opportunity in this area, the ability to develop energy hourly simulation models and for existing and new buildings, and for all kinds of facilities. I mean, this is primarily I'm talking about on the building side. Perform what they call calibrated simulation. By calibrated simulation, we mean that the results of the output of the simulation tool actually matches to hourly data from the utility. Here they use interval energy data. So your simulation model outputs and the hourly kilowatts or gas consumption should be within plus minus 10%. Then the last thing is code compliance. Building codes are getting tighter and tighter, so they would expect the simulation results and code to match. This is just an example of an energy model done developed using what is called a very popular energy modeling software called the eQuest. eQuest is a free. Again, these are free tools. You just Google eQuest and you'll be able to download this tool. And I would encourage everyone to download these free tools and keep on playing around with it. And exposure this is an extremely complex platform. What happens is that it takes time to build skills in this area. I mean, at least the fact that you can play around with this, keep on playing around with a simple model and run the energy saving calculation, run what is called parametric runs. If you can perform these, develop and perform energy simulations, you will gain a certain amount of experience. But I would want to tell you that it takes, I mean, an experienced modeler is a big requirement in the industry right now, and there'll be huge. I'm repeating again and again, there is a huge requirement for this kind of skill set. You can also perform energy modeling using RedScreen Expert, but RedScreen Expert is not an hourly simulation tool. It kind of helps you develop a building model, has very similar things, but maybe this can be a start to understand the process, how you model a building. Then later on, you can migrate to a more hourly. And there are other tools such as Energy Plus and so on. This is another example, a screenshot of energy. So this is from RedScreen Expert. So again, this is not a freeware. I think IISWPM may have access to this tool, but I would encourage participants to play around with this and spend some time on it. It can do several things. As I said earlier, measurement verification of energy savings is very important. There's a document, there's a website, video, and you can download a lot of these and learn about all the options. Option A, B is what they call a retrofit isolation. Option C is full building model, and option D is what they call a it's simulation basically. But in my career in the utility, I did a lot of measurement verification, and I use primarily option C, a little bit of option A and option B. Most important thing in this area is the ability to understand all related issues relating to measurement verification, such as routine and non-routine adjustment. This is another area. I think this you guys, people who's taking energy management may have already been exposed to some of these things, such as there are different types of energy audits, what they call ASHRAE level 1, ASHRAE level 2, ASHRAE level 3 energy audits. And basically ASHRAE level 1 is a very high level energy audit where it's a bit more qualitative in terms of the opportunity or cost reduction in the building. Followed by the level 2, which is way more detailed. It has detailed calculation for savings, cost and payback. It has a detailed inventory of all the measures. Inventory of the list of equipment, and has some detailed cost analysis. But it's important that some of these, when anyone talks about can you perform an ASHRAE level 1, ASHRAE level 2 audit, you should be able to understand clearly what is actually the difference between ASHRAE level 1 and ASHRAE level 2 audits. The ASHRAE level 3 energy audits are performed in a very detailed, mostly by engineering consultants, and primarily most common is ASHRAE level 2 audit. Then again, you should have the skill set, ability to identify measures and perform the calculation. Also perform regression analysis, which we have already touched in the previous slides. This is what I was saying about the portfolio manager. This is again a free tool. You can log into the website and do a little bit of self-learning, but this is an extremely important tool that anyone in this area should be using. I mean, ability to benchmark the building energy performance. And there's a lot of interest in what they call building commissioning, also what they call building recommissioning. Recommissioning is really a process for existing buildings that have either been commissioned or retro-commissioned. It just ensures that your building equipment and systems are operating optimally to meet current operating needs. So basically, building recommissioning, it's a building commissioning, a professional practice that facilitates the planning, design, construction, installation, testing, verification, documentation, operation of facilities and systems to conform to the owner's project requirements. This is really done at the mostly in the construction phase, but decommissioning is primarily done to even the older buildings. This is an example from kind of a decommissioning. Finally, use the word for a shopping mall, and this is screenshots from a building automation, and you can see the weekly schedules were not updated. So the schedules were actually updated after analysis in this area. Again, schedules updates. This is one of the most common energy reduction measures in buildings. In most cases, when the buildings is originally designed and the tenants move in, the initial schedules are always, for example, in the tenant floor, that particular floor were initially designed to be occupied 24/7. Most of the control systems are set to 24/7, which means all your fans, HVAC systems keep on running 24/7. You're just adjusting the operating schedule based on the requirements of the tenant can essentially save a lot of energy. And this is one of the most common measures. These are other problems such as delta P for chillers. Normally, for a good performance of a chilled water system or cooling water system, you need to operate the chiller at a high delta P. So that's what it is. And in most cases, in many cases, you find that these chillers actually maintain a good delta P, which affects the performance of the chilled water system adversely. These are things like loop. And this is really getting into detail, but I kind of just touched upon the slide here. This is adjusting the loop differential pressure for a pump. You can see after performing the recommissioning, the pressure of the pump actually, the pressure set point of the pump was reduced, and obviously the function of your pumping energy is related to your head and flow. So when you reduce the head, your head energy. Another common, as I said earlier, scheduling. This is a building where you're finding all the floors. It had compartmental fans on each of the floors, and these fans were running 24/7, even when the office was unoccupied. So there was the opportunity to turn off the equipment during the after hours. And again, another example of your supply fan running 24/7 versus actually scheduling. This is another one of the very common problems, what they call simultaneous heating and cooling in this part of the country, especially also in Toronto. We use both cooling as well as heating. We heat by boilers, rooftop gas-fired units, and also centralized cooling systems on LPS. So this is one of the common problem. This is the cool water system where you can see the air handling system. There you can see both the cooling energy as well as the heating energy. So we don't want to have this summerless heating and cooling going on. So they turn off the cooling during the winter season. You can see that. So these are the kinds of problems when you, and primarily when you perform a recommissioning in the building. These are the small things that you notice, and you can do corrective action, and obviously have impact on your tenant comfort as well as reduce energy. As I said earlier, sorry, there is a like chillers, we need to maintain a big delta T in supply and return temperature. So you can see after performing the recommissioning, the boilers. I mean, I think in this case, the boiler sequence or controls were adjusted in such a way that they could implement high delta T, or what is called larger delta T for supplying everything. Same thing like here. We use a lot of energy meters, power analyzers. This is a screenshot of one sites where they open up the panel and they install it. You can see the three CPs here. You have to go down. We have these tapping on the buses. So ability to even connect these meters are very important. I mean, here if you see there are two cables, what they call double cable arrangement. You're seeing the way you're connecting the CPs. During my work in India, I was doing a lot of energy audit for different industrial plants. So I mean, there was a lot of confusion in terms of if I give you an energy meter, where will I connect these? Which are the cables that I need to put in? It's a star delta system. Not sure if you guys are familiar about what the star delta starting, but ability to implement or install these meters correctly and capture the right energy and power is very important. Building automation, they use a lot of building automation here. I mean, all the control, and this is primarily in mid and large buildings, maybe more than 150,000 square feet. So the skill set to connect these different sensors, we refer to as connecting points, the building automation system, the ability to implement HVAC sequence of operation as per the engineering specification, exposure to communication protocols such as BACnet. And obviously, one needs to be conversant with the building automation programming language. That's very important, such as Metasys or FOGMA. And these are different vendors have different software programs to implement building automation program. So at least I think it's important the employer would see that we are exposed to some of these. Or maybe it's even as on an entry level, even if you are not exposed to the program, but at least you understand what do I mean by a point, what are the basic components of the program, and what do you mean by sequence of operation. And there are some actual level documents which talks about the best practices, sequencing, various a screenshot of a building automation. So you can see it on this. This is a very good thing. There are new areas which is there's a lot of interest. That is primarily in what they call automated fault detection and diagnostic. We have been serving projects using AFDB. And also there are companies who have started using artificial intelligence, deep learning algorithms. I would show a kind of a small screenshot of what the platform. Yeah, this is screenshot of an AFDB platform. Here you can see these are the kinds of problems or faults that were devised in the building automation system, and you can see occurrence of this fault. This can be a part of what they call an ongoing commissioning. Again, it's very, very important that one has the ability to use various AFDB platforms. There are lots of platforms in this market. This example is shown from a platform called SkySpark. There is another called Iconics. Then another platform called the Clockwork. So that there are a host of these platforms in the market. It's important that you are exposed to you have the ability to write quality, ability to connect using automation points to an automated fault detection platform, and exposed to communication protocols such as backend, and even best practices of ISO. As I said, so what kinds of jobs really are we looking at in this area? These are a few of them, not exhaustive. Things like, as I said earlier, energy and carbon management, energy consultants, engineering. There's a lot of demand for energy engineering, professional ability to design energy modelers, project management, and utility seeking program. I'm not sure if that is very common in India, but here there's a lot of opportunity for jobs. I think that was it. Sorry, Dinar?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. It has been a really an enlightening session, and it has been really a very enigmatic talk. And I hope that everyone who has joined has been hugely benefited from what has been discussed. So now we are going to start the question and answer session. So I would request the participants to please post their questions in the chat box, and I will convey them to Mr. Bhattacharya, and who will answer them one by one.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. So the first question I would want to ask you, I have a question. So, sir, you mentioned that artificial intelligence has been being used in the energy management field now. So, since I have a particular interest towards artificial intelligence, can you please tell me a little bit more elaborately about what are the applications of AI in energy management?
Okay, so there are several companies actually trying to predict energy consumption at different times of the day, different periods. So basically, they look at weather, a couple of other sensors in the building, and then based on predicting energy consumption, you can create alerts that if tomorrow, because utility cost, there's a lot of, for example, there's a big penalty for a high peak demand.
Yes.
So what happens if I have, whether you're using a deep learning or a machine learning model, if I can predict my peak, I can, if I know that tomorrow my peak is really going to be high, I can take action to bring that down, because that will have big implication on the cost. But there are other things also. Yeah. People are also trying to develop models for example, your carbon emission. The utility carbon because these utilities or a lot of these supply generators, they use different sources. Someone is using nuclear, thermal, like a coal-based, or maybe renewables. So there's a mix of different generators. So I know in the peak times, my emission factors are really going to go, my carbon intensity is going to go up. So going in the future, there will be a big price for carbon. So my building or my industry, I'm operating at facilities. I'm a facility manager, so I know that this is a peak price point for my carbon emissions. So I need to manage that. And obviously, they are also using artificial intelligence in what they call anomaly detection, identifying faults and problems, predicting. And they are creating what they call the digital twins and trying to compare the actual performance based on the digital twin and understand performance and take corrective action. I mean, and a lot of other things are also going in the industry. This is a field which is emerging. A lot of companies are claiming they can do a lot of things, but implementing artificial intelligence, I mean, there's a lot of noise in this area. But slowly, these are the kinds of new areas that is emerging, and it's important to look at this and pick up the right skills in this area.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, sir. So the next question is from Abhishek Bardhan. So he is asking, what are some of the ethical considerations that energy management professionals must be aware of?
You're saying ethical considerations?
Ethical considerations.
Can you be a little more specific? That's a very broad question. I mean, because
actually, I think
I think in a very simple terms, maybe it's safety, for example.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we energy management professionals are not so much, but sometimes we can be exposed to very hazardous working conditions. I mean, you're talking about getting onto the roof and getting, taking information on equipment. So you're exposed to a lot of risk at times.
Yes.
I remember while I was working in India, I actually climbed up the stairs in one of the we were doing energy audits for NTPC, National Thermal Power Corporation, and we were doing looking at the auxiliary power consumption. And I happened to we climbed several floors of, I think, in the boiler, and it was dangerous. So I think that would be one, but I don't know if I've answered the question, or maybe if you can specify, I'll try to see if I can get more into it.
Actually, in India, in some of the ESCO projects, because of some misunderstanding of the responsibility and the share of savings that should be by the owner to the ESCO company, there are some disputes. So that may be one area of these ethical issues, and the other areas maybe about the disclosures in India. Now the SEBI has come out with a circular. You know that SEBI means there is a I would say that regulatory body that is called that is a full form is this Securities and Exchange Board of India. So they have come out with a regulation in 2021 that the top listed companies in India, 1,000 such top capital in terms of capital, the top 1,000 companies, they have to, it is a mandatory for them to disclose their ESG in terms of business responsibility and sustainability reporting, that it will be mandatory for them to disclose these things. Yes, that you mentioned, ESG. So this
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
becoming, yeah, this is becoming a compulsion for to start with, for this top 1,000 capital companies with higher capitals.
Yeah.
So
No,
this is one area. Yeah.
yeah, this is, you are right. I mean, this is more and more, and I mean, last few years, we have really seen that companies really they want to increase their export. And so this is great to know, this is driving everywhere. And basically, and that is also good news for all of us.
Yeah, yeah. And in India, another thing is happening, very good thing. You already know that designated consumers have been identified, and since 2014, a PAT cycle has set up, and some kind of internal trading of ESATs are in place. Amongst those, about 1,000, again, that is also about 1,000 industrial units. They have been asked to maintain these certain standards in terms of specific energy consumption, and they have been asked to follow the provisions of the Energy Conservation Act. So this has made a lot of impact, and some sort of this ethics also about energy use that is coming. And now we are, as an auditor, we have seen there is a sea change is happening now. What we used to feel and tell others that energy audit and again another exercise for identifying the potential for renewable energy use, if these two activities can be merged, and, or in the energy audit itself there should be some provision or compulsion that you should also do reporting on renewable energy opportunities. Actually that has happened, and it is now, almost like a standard format or standard process that in level 1, level 2 or level 3 audit, this particularly in level 1 and level 2, that we always try to focus along with energy efficiency opportunities as EEMs. We also have now begun to consider officially it has become ethics of business, that to mention some of the renewable energy opportunities like rooftop solar or any kind of locally available renewable source as alternative source to fossil fuel, CO2 emission reduction opportunities. So these are there, and water audit. So energy, along with energy audit, water audit has come in
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
India
Same,
in a
same.
big.
Same,
Yeah.
same here also. People, I mean, companies are requesting for water and energy audit, and there is benchmark also for water. But when you talked about this ESCO, what has happened? ESCO industry has evolved over several years. I mean, even here. So these they have become a very. I mean, there are experts, legal experts to write these contracts, the ESCO contracts. So and I mean, what is the ethical practice here? The models, the MLB systems have really come out of the ESCO world. So this industry has matured in such a way there is no longer any room for manipulation. I mean, because perhaps India is still in the early phases. I don't know. I mean, that's maybe this thing actually happened. But here companies are. I mean, there are new services coming out, what they call energy efficiency as a service. So I mean, they're taking it to altogether a different level now.
Just have a question, a quick question to you. Besides the buildings, what are the industries in Canada or in your area who are more concerned with energy audit and energy efficiency programs?
Like all the companies here are, even the small and mid-sized companies. I was involved in performing an energy audit of a coffee coffee processing facility. They use a lot of energy for roasting coffee. So even small chains, such as coffee chains, such as like Starbucks, Tim Hortons, they also perform energy audits. You'll be surprised. I mean,
And the industries, amongst the larger industries, who are the major?
There are a lot of pulp and paper manufacturing here. They do. I mean, and there is a steel processing unit called Samuel Group. In fact, they have just requested for a trader hunt, and I also did a project for them. So I mean, these are all kinds of manufacturing now, and energy, and the good thing here is the utility has programs. It is not just energy audit. They get incentive for implementing the measure. So the utility provides money that by implementing your energy saving measure, we will pay you incentive up to a particular cost of the project. And they also pay the salary of an energy manager.
Oh.
Yeah.
So is it a part of your regulation or it is just ethics?
No, it is offering from the utility. So what here there is something, a regulatory system called the Ontario Energy Board is coming right from top. It's a regulatory body. So what they say is that basically it is, instead of putting in new plants, it is cheaper to first attack the demand side management program, to implement demand side management programs, and they have through all the utilities. You'll be surprised, in Ontario there are 87 utilities. 87. Not one. Like for example, when if you see there's one main utility, right? Or maybe there's LDC, local distribution companies. But here, so what we call, there is like 87 what they call LDC, local distribution company. And I no longer work, but I was working for one of the largest LDC local distribution companies called the Toronto Hydro. It is basically provides power supply to the city of Toronto. They consume a lot of energy. So I was involved in delivering utility programs for these buildings.
Okay, there are some more questions. Rick, are you moderating the questions?
Yes, sir, I'm doing. Okay, so we have a question from Sriyanshi to Nayak. So she's asking, so what are your views on the recent budget as far as energy related sectors are concerned?
This is for Vinay?
No, sir, for you, sir.
Sorry, I mean, come again. Can you repeat the questions again?
She's asking, what are your views on the recent budget as far as energy related sectors are concerned? The budget that came out in India, I think she's asking.
Oh, I'm not very, like, I mean, I know there are I kind of briefly went over that. Maybe I would would be more skill to answer that question, because my question may be very too general. Maybe I'll ask Vinay to respond.
Yeah, but there are other questions also specifically to.
Okay, so we have another question from Avanish Mujumdar. So he is asking, does ESG score really affect the performance of the company in the capital market, and how?
Yes, extremely important, and it is going to be more and more important. I mean, we are seeing. I'm particularly personally with my own clients. I'm finding it, they are taking it very seriously. Not only doing the energy audit, they also want to implement the measures. What is happening earlier, I would say, for example, my company would perform an energy audit and okay, thank you, bye-bye. No, right now, we they are giving a clear instruction. We want a list of measures to put that into our budget. In fact, I'm working with a company right now. They are saying, Kaushik, I need a budget list would be given to us by before May, so they can put that into their capital plan. So basically, that's what is happening right now. So I'm sure this is going to go everywhere.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So we have another question from Manavendra Ghosh. So he's asking from the academic perspective, what are the domains or subdomains of the energy management field that one can opt for doing a PhD or higher studies in this field?
Oh, you can do PhD in any area. I mean, you can, for example, you can do PhD in non-intrusive techniques of measuring efficiency of a motor. I'm just giving you an example. Efficiency of a motor is a very intrusive process. You have to stop the motor, open up the motor, measure those winding resistance and all those things. So maybe you can do a PhD on evolving a method where, I mean, this could be anything. You can, this is kind of it's a very broad area. I mean, there is, I'm sure one of them, I mean, I would personally think that some kind of research in the area of carbon emissions and demand side management program. That's one of the big areas that you can actually work on.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So another question from Rohan Ganguly. So he's asking, what are the main KPIs we should keep in our mind for energy management from the perspective of logistics? I think he wants to, I think he wants to try to find try to integrate logistics with energy management. So basically, he's asking. I think he's trying to look into the logistics management from the energy point of view. So I think he's asking that question.
Logistics in terms of implementing an energy plan or conducting an energy audit. I'm not sure what he's looking at. I mean, I think this logistical consideration can be, it is very industry specific, right? It can be, I mean, in certain cases, that can be a huge consideration. In other industries, it's absolutely not relevant. So, I mean, this question is really kind of too general. I mean, if you have a very pointed question on this, then I can try to answer that.
Okay, sir.
If Rohan can be unmuted, he can directly ask what he is feeling. One. Somnath Guha. Somnath Guha also had a question about the role of infrastructure in energy management. What is the need of IT infrastructure for energy management to happen? That is Somnath Guha from Narula Institute of Technology.
Well, and it's a extremely good point that is a good question actually. I would personally think role in what I'm seeing in most of these buildings. In fact, I am actually presenting a paper in the World Energy and AE World this fall. So we are seeing problems of poor digital infrastructure in buildings. So what is happening, there's a lot of opportunities in data science, but thing is buildings should have, I don't know why it is. One second, 1 second.
Acha, Rohan, are you here? Rohan, you had a question. Are you
sorry.
here?
Sir, asking me.
So what is really happening is, so yeah, as I said, the digital infrastructure. So companies that have been able to implement digital infrastructure in buildings, they have been able to implement energy. They have been able to utilize. I mean, they will get benefit of data center. For a gentleman mentioned about artificial intelligence. It's completely based on data. If you have sensors in the building, a lot of sensors in the building, you can train the model. Without training the model, obviously your energy optimization possibility is less. That is number one. Number two, other things. If you have the right technologies, for example, you have chillers, a variable speed chiller. Obviously, you can do a lot of, you can reduce the operating costs of your chillers. Certain chillers does not have the capability. These are old, what they call a vane operated unloading mechanism chiller. So obviously, there is a limitation in terms of how much energy reduction you can do. So that's where this whole comes in. So basically, and you have a water cooled system versus an air cooled system. Surely there'll be more savings in case of the water cooled chilled water system. Other things is like lighting. Do you have more zone control? If you have more zone controls, there is more opportunity for saving. And absolutely, that's a great question. And depending on what kind of infrastructure you have in a building, you have a building automation, do you have a lighting or automation? What are the equipments connected to the building automation? Are you just connecting the major equipments, or you're going down into zone level? And that has impacts on your energy opportunity to save energy. And same thing also for industry.
Rick, is there any question anymore?
No,
Okay,
sir.
cool.
I am seeing the certificates now. You can continue, sir.
Okay, there is one more question from Somnath. Which new technologies specifically can be applied in the energy management sector?
Sorry?
Which new technologies are growing up that can be applied in the energy management sector?
Yeah, as I said, fault detection and diagnostics. AFDD, automated fault detection diagnostics. This is an area which is gaining a lot of interest. So companies are using AFDD technology for what they call in their maintenance program. Ability to identify problems, all kinds of activities. And also growing interest in AI. I mean, people are claiming a lot of things that can be done using an AI, but I would like to think that this is a little bit early, but going forward in the next coming years, there would be a lot of growth in AI. In fact, we have developed an AI model for a chiller optimization system, but there are other challenges with it. I mean, so companies are claiming, but there is also some pushback from the industry. Remember, AI can also replace jobs. They don't want to. We don't want to replace people with AI, right?
Okay, so I think that will be all. So I would now invite Professor Binoy Krishna Chaudhary sir to deliver the formal vote of thanks.
So we are extremely thankful to Kaushik for taking his time, because it is early morning for him. He has a whole busy day to plan and ready for his own lot of activities and family activities. In spite of all this, he is sharing his valuable thoughts, experience to us, only for encouraging the young students who are in the energy field or who wish to be in the energy field. So that is very much boosting our morale. Our means our Kolkata chapter and in Energy Management Department of IISWM, who is hosting this Kolkata chapter, we feel that this should continue in a. So this has been started with Kausik, and it will continue every second Saturday at 7 p.m. India Standard Time. We shall have such discussions. Another next time, maybe another speaker from energy field will join us. So we are taking advantage of this IT in energy management and bringing Kaushik right from the other side of the globe in Canada, in India, and that actually also will be the kind of job in future the students who are going to be in the energy management professional activities. Their actions also will be somewhat like that. So I think it will also help all the students this type of initiative. I thank all the students who are organizing this process, taking part in this process, and thanks to all the participants as well. Thank you, Kaushik, you with us. Over to Rick.
Now,
Thank you all. I think myself, Dr. Arindam Datta from ISWM, I just congratulate all the participants also here for coming and listening to the webinar. And so we can leave now, officially leave. So participants, please leave the session, and you are also welcome for our next session. As Dr. Chaudhary has mentioned, that every second week of the month we will organize such type of session. Thank you.